So Mrs. GTE and I have been having a little bit of disagreement about food lately. She wants to eat more vegetables, and I really like meat. And at this point, we really haven't come to an agreement. But I caught her looking at some recipes for cauliflower pizza crust, and I've been dying to do one that had the ground chicken because it looked absolutely amazing. And so we decided to settle this the best way possible, and that is over pizza. So we're going to make two different recipes. Mrs. Grilltop Experience is going to make a cauliflower pizza crust, and I'm going to make one with ground chicken. We're going to figure out who comes out on top. We tried a few cauliflower pizza recipes, and this one worked the best. Start by blending a small head of cauliflower, or about 3 cups, and blend it until it's finely processed, and then blend it just a little bit more. Leaving it too chunky makes a poor crust texture, and you're going to end up with something that looks a lot like mashed potatoes when you're done. Put it on the stove over medium heat for about 10 minutes, and be sure to stir it occasionally. Once it's done and is cooled, put the cauliflower in a clean kitchen towel. Next, squeeze out as much water as possible, and we've tried it both ways and we found that squeezing the water out is an absolute must. Your crust may not stick together or brown if you skip this step. So toss it in a bowl and break up the chunks with a fork. Then add a half a teaspoon of salt, 2 ounces of cream cheese or goat cheese if you like to live on the edge, a 1/4 cup of parmesan cheese, make sure you use the good stuff, 1 egg. Then mix everything together until it's homogenized before forming it into a dough ball. The chicken crust is much less involved. Start with a pound of ground chicken, and then add a half a cup of good parmesan cheese and a half a cup of mozzarella. Add 1 egg, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of both salt and black pepper, and finally 1 teaspoon of your favorite hot sauce. Then mix it until it's all combined and form it into a ball. Both recipes need to be formed into a crust and pre-cooked. There's no magic method to do this, but you want both crusts to be about a 1/4 inch thick and put them on unwaxed parchment paper. Just smash them down with your hands and try to get the thickness as even as possible. Mrs. Grilltop Experience does a good job of making sure the cauliflower crust comes out perfect. With that, we went our separate ways to pre-bake the crust. The cauliflower crust is baked for 30 to 35 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit and then flipped and cooked for another 5 minutes. I prefer to cook outside, and I set the pellet grill to 400 degrees Fahrenheit before baking the chicken crust for 20 or 25 minutes. At this point, the crust is cooked, but it won't turn brown until we bake it again with the toppings. The cauliflower crust browned nicely and is ready to top. Both pizzas are going to be a simple pepperoni with sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni for a fair comparison between the two crusts. I would have preferred to try some more adventurous toppings, but we wanted to keep it fair and simple. The chicken crust went back on the pellet grill at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. Against my better judgment, I put the pizza directly on the grates, but still managed to keep the pizza from sticking. The cauliflower pizza spent a few minutes under the broiler to finish off. I didn't expect a crispy crust, and they both delivered in that respect. However, just like pizza, they slice up into triangles nicely. The only thing left to do is to give it the taste test. Now when we got to the taste test, neither of the recipes really screamed pizza. I'm a big fan of slow fermented pizza crust. It's nice and chewy, and neither of those hit the bill for me. But if this was the only way that I could get some pizza, I might still give it a try. Now, with a cauliflower crust, it's definitely not my favorite. Mrs. Grilltop Experience likes it. I've talked to lots of other people that have tried it, and I haven't found anybody who is really saying, I love cauliflower crust. Now, the ground chicken crust came out tasting just like chicken sausage. It was slammed full of flavor. All of them were really good. They complemented the pizza sauce and the toppings really well. And I like that one a lot. Between the two, that one was definitely my favorite. But you're not going to say that that's a health food because it had a lot of fat and a ton of cheese, and that would push the calories over if that's something that you were counting, whereas the one that had the cauliflower would have been a little bit lower and lower fat as well because it didn't have the chicken fat in it. And of course, that's just my opinion. I would love to hear what you guys think. Put down in the comments below whether or not you think that the cauliflower crust or the ground chicken crust look better to you. And of course, while you're doing that, you could always check out another video by the Grilltop Experience. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing it so you can stay up to date with all of our new videos.